Excuse me.
New York State stands at a critical crossroads. We can go down the path of Pennsylvania and other states that have followed the approach of drilling first and asking questions later. We've seen where that path leads. Contaminated drinking water supplies, fish kills, exploding water wells, and most recently a massive well explosion that spewed toxic gas and chemicals into the air, 75 feet in the air, unabated for 16 hours. Or we can follow a different path. We can stop, we can breathe, and we can ask the questions that have not yet been answered but that need to be answered to let us know, can hydrofracking proceed safely in New York State? And if so, how will that be done? That's why we're here today in strong support of the Englebright Addabo bill. That's a sensible piece of legislation that would impose a short-term moratorium on hydrofracking so that we can get the scientific answers to the many unanswered questions that remain. We need to measure twice and cut once. Too much is at stake: our precious drinking water, our air quality, and the health of our children and future generations. We urge passage of this legislation now, this session. New York needs to stand up and say, if there's one thing that the Gulf has taught us, we need to make sure that these industries are properly evaluated. We can't trust what they tell us when they say it can be done safely without additional regulation. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce my own assembly member from Brooklyn, Jim Brennan.
Thank you so much, Carl. As you can see, citizens from all across New York State and Pennsylvania, different groups, environmental groups, state legislators, local legislators, community groups, are all united around some fundamental principles involving the obvious recognition that hydrofracking technology is extremely dangerous. The New York State government is not proceeding down the path of protecting the people of the state of New York from the consequences of the environmental contamination of hydrofracking. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation last December put out draft environmental regulations with respect to drilling that provide no meaningful restrictions whatsoever on gas drilling using the dangerous hydrofracking technology. We were all shocked and disturbed that the state government is not proceeding down the path of protecting the citizenry. Fortunately, the Environmental Protection Administration announced it was planning to do a study to determine the levels of danger, the levels of environmental contamination, and what to do about this technology. And as a result, everybody here is unified around the Englebright Addabo legislation that would establish a 2-year moratorium on any drilling in New York State while the EPA study is continuing and awaiting the outcome of that study. In the meantime, all kinds of legislation is proceeding into the Rules Committee, passing out of the Environmental Conservation Committee, that limit in one way, shape, or form the ability of the gas industry to use the hydrofracking technology. And I think we all need to work together. The Englebright Addabo bill is a unifying element with respect to every group that's here. And I commend everybody for coming out and trying to protect the water supplies of the people of the state of New York from one of the most dangerous technologies in existence in the world today. Thank you.
Next up, I'd like to have Susan Lerner, Executive Director of Common Cause.
Thanks, Carl. We're here because, as several of the earlier speakers have said, this is a common sense issue. Common Cause, a nonpartisan citizen watchdog, is interested in government accountability and government effectiveness. And the Englebright Addabo bill is an excellent example of the kind of coordination that we need to see more of between the different branches and levels of our government. It makes sense to wait until we have the word from the EPA. in order to determine whether it is safe to hydrofrack. So this is a good government issue. Let's take the time to make sure that the science is clear. And let's applaud our legislators for being willing to stand up to the oil industry, which spent over $600,000 lobbying in New York State last year alone. And the records indicate that they are on track to spend even more. So this is good government. This is the kind of coordination that we need. Do the study, have the state wait until the science is clear at the federal level, and take the time, step back, get this right. This is government as it should work. Thank you.